in the House is calling it a resolution of resolve. We know this congressional leaders on both sides say this was a request that came from the White House for such a resolution. Language is being worked out. There are some concerns that have already been raised by some Democratic members that this could be something like a Gulf of Tonkin resolution. They don't want to go that far. They don't want to allow a blank check for military action. But this is something that right now over on the House side, leadership members on both sides trying to work out some kind of an agreement on language, because the White House wants something further, something more than what the Congress did today. As you know, the Congress today debated a resolution, passed resolution in the Senate 100-0, basically condemning this act and calling for unity and calling for action. This would be something a little bit further, something like what we saw back in 1991 with the Gulf War resolution authorizing the use of force, but there's no agreement yet on exactly how far that would go, but this is something that's going on right now at this late hour in the Capitol.
Thanks, John. And Senator Lieberman, your comment on what John Call just told us.
Larry, I haven't seen the words. I've heard about the discussions. There will not be a significant disagreement among members of the Senate, and I would guess the House, on party lines. We're all united. We support a response, retaliation, and I think even beyond that, we support a genuine, long-term, comprehensive, sustained war against terrorism until we beat it and we don't have to face this kind of tragedy again.
Senator Biden, though, John Call did say that some Democrats were a little wary, and Senator Lieberman says no. Do you join Senator Lieberman?
Well, I'm part of that group that has staff there working out the language, and the answer is there's going to be no disagreement. Originally, there was a discussion about a declaration of war, and as John McCain said earlier in the preceding program, the question was war against whom, and so there's going to be no disagreement. I predict that what we come out with will be 100-0, and I think there'll be absolute resolve. Part of the confusion related to how the request was communicated and so on, but I think it's a non-issue.
Senator Kyle, you're a member of the Select Intelligence Committee. Did intelligence fail us?
In one sense, Larry, you'd have to say it failed us because we didn't predict what was going to happen, but there's a connotation to that somebody was grossly negligent and to blame, and we cannot conclude that yet. Until we do our complete analysis, we're really not going to know what we knew. I think the key thing is we've got to continue to remind ourselves that we don't know what we don't know, and we shouldn't assume that we can predict these kinds of things.
What we do know, Senator Lieberman, is that men who shouldn't have got into airports got into airplanes and commandeered them.
Absolutely right, Larry. But by total coincidence, the committee I now chair today held a long-planned hearing on the vulnerability of America's critical infrastructure to enemy attack. We happen to focus today on computers and the way in which our financial systems and energy systems are dependent on them and they can be broken into. But the same is true of transportation and air transport. And we just let our guard down. I mean, I think yesterday was a turning point in American history, and I think what it says to us is that we've got to begin to organize to defend our homeland in a way we never have before, because we thought the oceans protected us. But now we're subject to attack from terrorists, from cyber attackers, and indeed from ballistic missiles, and we've got to put our guard up.
Senator Biden, do we follow rules of law, something that this country and all of us are raised with, or do we, as 94% of Americans say, go in and take them out?
Well, by the way, when you go in and take them out, you don't have to follow rules of law. The rules of law apply to American citizens and people on American soil. There is not a rule of law when there's a war. There's
but you could file it. You could file it. You can go to international courts. You could file a brief with the country asking.
They actually ridiculous. Wrong. Ridiculous. Not even in the game. A country yields its sovereignty when, in fact, it participates in an act that causes grave damage to another country. There is no question under any law, international or otherwise, that if we have the proof to show that there is a complicitous country, that they have committed an act of war against us, and retaliation is fully within every single solitary category of law, international and local. That's very different. That's very different, because with all due respect, Larry, you guys keep confusing these terms, in my humble opinion. And that is, you talk about the rule of law. The rule of law applies to the United States of America and American citizens. we cannot, will not, and must adhere to. We cannot yield on that. We can't yield on the Bill of Rights. We can't yield on any of those issues as it relates to American citizens and the application of our criminal laws here in this country. But that's very different than retaliating.
Could not have been stated more forcefully. Senator Kyl, do you expect this to be swift?
Well, we've made tremendous progress just in the day and a half that have passed since this tragedy in identifying people that we think had something to do with it and expanding the investigation to a larger network. I think what we're going to find is that we will make good progress quickly because of the skill of our people, but that we're going to find a very large network of people complicit in this operation. And the difficulty is that we may find that they are people of different origins or nationalities, people who lived in different countries, who traveled to different countries, and we may find that different countries harbored some of them, and perhaps those that still live are being harbored yet in other countries. So it may be quite difficult for us to find targets here that we can retaliate against.
Larry, one very important thing.
Quickly, yeah.
Real quickly, NATO, for the first time in its history, passed what they call an Article 5 resolution saying that if this attack was organized from abroad, it is an attack against all of NATO. They will participate in any retaliation. This is the most significant thing that's happened, and Colin Powell is to be complimented in the way in which he's generating support, including from Russia, China, and moderate states in the Middle East. It's a big deal.
We thank Senators Lieberman, Biden, and Kyl. We'll be calling on them again. Joining us now to discuss this from an